So today we have Wole from the Data Visualization Center. Sorry, my thing went down. Right here, so he leads the advanced visualization part of the Cyberinfrastructure Technology Integration, which is CITI, I'm gonna go with that. His research interests are in visualization and virtual reality, learning in virtual environments, distributed heterogeneous systems, robotics, telepresence, and eye tracking and visual attention modeling. He does some really cool stuff that I've been able to see going over the Data Visualization Center. And let's give him a warm round of applause, everybody.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me at the back. I'm not normally a very loud speaker, so if my voice starts to go, then please tell me to raise it up. I don't feel offended. So, as Eric mentioned, my name is Wole Oyekoya. I direct the visualization lab at CITI, Clemson Computing and Information Technology. A little bit about myself, since I don't have any particular slide devoted to myself. I did my PhD at University College in London, and I went on to become a postdoc, first at University of Middlesex University there in North London, and then I went on to come back to University College London to do a postdoc, and I was there for about almost 6 years, 5 in the hour. And interestingly, my area of specialization for my PhD was actually in eye tracking. I did some work on eye movements, trying to look at images, trying to gauge where people are looking at in images, and also trying to control an interface, an image interface. So you could sort of imagine a sort of grid type network visualization graph, something like that. And then you're able to actually track somebody's eyes, and depending on what their interest is, be able to search within a database where they're looking at. Nothing about VR. And then, so this postdoc position came, which meant that they wanted to integrate eye tracking into what you call a cave. How many people have heard of a cave here, actually? So cave, computer-assisted virtual environment, which is really 4 big monitors in the case of a 4-sided cave, or 6 big monitors in a 6-sided cave, where you could basically step inside it, and then all the virtual environments, all the games will be presented to you in life-size formats, and you will actually feel like you're within it. So a cave is more or less like the headsets that you would wear, except it's not, you don't put it on your head, you actually walk into it. I don't know if I have a picture of this particular presentation, but that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to integrate an eye tracker so people could walk inside the cave, have an eye tracker tracking their eye movement, and then I was able to do some work on that where I did some gaze modeling, looking at how virtual characters could be automatically controlled, and that could be applied very much to robotics. So from there I came to Virginia Tech before I moved over here in Clemson University, only just last year. The lady Vitrobot that hired me actually ended up leaving 1 week, or 1 month into, right? Told me 1 week afterwards that she's got a position as an assistant professor at Purdue, so which was a surprise to me because she didn't inform me of that. But it gave me an opportunity to sort of give an interesting 3D direction to visualization, which is where my area of expertise is. So a lot of what I've been doing, as you can see, that was a scan of myself done by one of my intern students, where I was actually doing a backflip. Please don't ask me, I know you've got space for me. Don't ask me to do a backflip. Initially, I actually did one of me walking like an old man, And I told him that, you know, I still have to pass you, so you better do something a little more interesting. The second was work that actually Vitra started with part of the research experience for undergraduates. And this was in conjunction with the athletics department. So they wanted to do Little John Coliseum. That was while it was being built, being renovated, and they wanted to do a sort of, they wanted to model it so that people could kind of feel how it's going to look like when it's being done. And one of the students, who is actually an engineering student, did a very good job actually putting it together. They got the model from the architects, which was really just gray models, and then they actually put a lot of textures, videos that you can see into it. So it was a very interesting project, and if you can kind of make this out, that's what you call a LiDAR scan. This is an aerial scan photo that they normally take, which gives you points, and those points is actually what we use in GIS or geospatial technologies to actually see a particular area from the sky, and it's quite neat. We also have the touch table that we work on as well. We've also done some projects on there. So I spent so much time on the first slide, then I want to give you an overview. So perhaps I'm doing it in a wrong way. So what I'm going to try and do, hopefully, is introduce you to visualization. If you don't mind, I'll have a seat so that introduce you to visualization in general. Perhaps have some questions on how you could use it in your area as well. I have a particular software that I'm going to try and show you a video on, just to see how people use it for this kind of social scenarios as well. And then I'll show you the resources that we have that you could make use of. And I'll show you the applications, the various applications that we're currently working on, some of 2 or 3 that I've already talked about. So as a group within Cyberinfrastructure and Technology Integration, we provide visualization solutions for a wide range of data sets. And that means that we talk about setup, we talk about software, we talk about training and workshops. So we are going to be holding one training on Wednesday, for example, on how to visualize research data, and that's going to be specific to 5 different kinds of software, which is ParaView, VMD, Visit, Gephi, and I will introduce you a little bit to Gephi this morning. And Unity 3D, which is what we use for the game engine side of things, which is the virtual reality. And that's what really the big buzz is about when you hear about the new virtual reality headsets. And what we try and do for the university is to introduce new novel technologies on how they could visualize their data. The kind of promotion you could get from putting your research out there is very important. I mean, I can't stress. I remember when I started my PhD, one of the things my supervisor said to me was, there are a lot of people who do so much work and they don't seem to understand the importance of getting that work out there. So you really want to promote your work as much as possible. It's almost like singing your own praises, but it's very important in PhD. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 good papers before you do your thesis, you're guaranteed to pass, more or less, because there is no faculty that is going to tell you that you've not done enough when you've peer reviewed it at good conferences or 1 or 2 journals as well. They might tell you to do some minor corrections. Of course, they want control. But yeah, you're guaranteed to pass. And we certainly pursue grant opportunities and collaborations. I'm currently waiting. We've got an Adobe grant right now that we work on. And I'm currently waiting to hear on one NSF opportunity that involved 6 faculties. And they are from psychology to computer science. So they all span a wide range of fields. think the interesting thing about this area is that, just about any department, it's truly interdisciplinary. Just about any department we are capable of working with. The problem with that is that they then expect you to know every software, and that's not possible. So sometimes I do work with a lot of people who are specific in the different softwares. Most of the software that we work with, I have actually worked with over the years, to a certain extent. Sometimes just simply in terms of supporting it, technical support, as opposed to being a user. So a lot of training sessions we're now trying to hold, I want to make it so that, for example, in the World Innovation Center, we put a software on screen, and to get that on screen requires a lot of technical expertise, which is one of the things I'm quite good at. But to tell people how to use the particular software is one thing I want the users themselves to do, to kind of guide themselves. And I've got a couple of interns and graduate assistants. In fact, 2 of them are pretty new, which I haven't had yet. And they help with different kinds of software. So, yeah, so we support different kinds of software. They range from virtual reality to 3D APIs, scientific visualization. So we do a lot of work on Unity 3D. For scientific visualization, we do PowerView, EMD, and Visit. And there are a lot of number of scientific visualization softwares out there, and it's really based on user needs that we do this support. We also do information visualization, which is about Gephi, GraphViz. I'm just going to very quickly see if I can get this up on screen, just so that you get an idea.
We will color code this university. We are going to talk about some basics of data visualization, which is going to be useful for all of you guys who are interested in data journalism or in just visualizing your data generally.
So I thought I should show this particular software because it's
so for our data visualization tutorial, we are going to download our Facebook network and visualize our Facebook network. To do that, you should log into your Facebook account and put NetViz in the search box here. And NetViz is a Facebook application that allows you to download your Facebook network in a file which is readable for the network visualization software we are going to use. So, I'm sorry, I just clicked in the checkbox and clicked here, and it opened this tab. And here you can download the GDF file, which is the format for Gephi, the software we are going to use. You click here, it says save link as in Spanish. So you save link as, I will just save it on my desktop. Okay, so now we have to download the software, Gephi. You can find it on gephi.org. Popular in data journalism. If you look at the data blog, now we are going to import our Facebook network. So this is my Facebook network, and I press OK, and there it is. It's not very informative, is it? It's like just a huge jungle of nodes and edges, but you can make it very informative by choosing the layout here. I will choose 4Z+2 because I like it a lot. So you press it and you click run. Now, see what happens. Actually, what's happening now, you should press stop eventually when you're satisfied with the layout. I'm very satisfied now. And what happened here is that there are these small communities, as they are called. These represent actual real communities in your network of friends. They are very connected edges, meaning that those people know each other very well, but these guys actually don't know these guys. So you should zoom in. You can do it with your scroll, but I will use this one because my mouse is not functioning at the moment. Okay, so here we are. So now you don't know what the nodes represent and what the edges represent, but you can clarify that by pressing this. And there are the labels of the nodes. It's again just a jungle of characters, but you can reduce the size of them by using this slider. And if you zoom in more closely, you can see that these nodes represent your friends. So yeah, these names are Hungarian, because I'm Hungarian, don't worry about that. And so this girl knows my best friend, my cousin, and some girl I don't remember. This is nice already, because now I can see that these are my friends from the university. They are very strongly connected. Here's another community from another university. Here's a community from a small radio station in Hungary I'm very familiar with. And these are my friends from the Tilburg University.
I can send you the link so you could look at it at a later time. But that was a bit I wanted you to see, how it is possible to use it to visualize this type of data, such as community of friends. Or it could even, the data has to be packaged in a way that the software would understand it. One of the reasons you use the Facebook one is because it actually gives you something that is available in the standard formats, and then they are able to visualize it quite well. And this is the kind of work that are being done now. The popular software right now, Tableau, is one that kind of skill is very useful in industry, because there is a lot of industry that is using it. And this is from the data, what they call visual analytics aspect of things. And I have to be quite honest, that wasn't, a lot of what I've done with virtual reality and visualization didn't involve that. So, it's sort of been a learning curve for me too as well, to find out other ways of visualizing things. My focus has more been on 3D. So Unity 3D, this is an interface for Unity 3D. It allows us to kind of import several 3D models. And so you've got that, the top interface here where you can actually drag and drop several models that you create. So one of my models, like the scan of my models, could be dragged and dropped in here. And then I could have myself doing that backflip on an island somewhere. And this is the place where I actually play. And you can see it as well. And then once I've finished, you've got various types of parts of the interface. This is a place where you actually, for example, you've got a character controller here, where you can control things like the radius, limits. A lot of different characteristics that you can actually control within that interface. And that's really how most of these games are done, because they have software that are like this for you to be able to do that. We've got PowerView as well, which is a scientific visualization, also used for CFD, computational fluid dynamics, and some even molecular dynamics visualization as well. Visit and VMD are very good at chemistry simulations as well. And of course, we've got our method, which is where a lot of these computational simulations are run. And we've got a whole different set of courses that the other people in CITI, Cyberinfrastructure technology, actually specialize in. So just to give you a brief overview of the resources that are available around here. So we've got the visual in Bahol 2004, which Eric has come to see from one of the presentations. And we've got the Watts Family Innovation Center video wall as well, where we will also be holding in the next month one of our PowerView scientific visualization sessions. So we've actually got that working, where you could see in 3D and actually interact with it at the same time. So they're making me out to shout. Right. So we've got the 3D projectors, again in the visualization lab, which allows us to see data. So what you can see here is holding up 3D glasses, which allows you to see it in 3 dimensions. The way that works, just to give you as quick as possible. Imagine a camera within a 3D environment. So let's call this real environment a 3D environment. And you've got the left eye and the right eye. Now, if you hold your hand in front of your eyes, you see that you see 2 different views when you actually close one eye and the other. And those 2 different views is what's actually fed to the glasses through various means. Each glasses work in a different way. With active glasses, it's actually flipped back and forth. So they will close one of the glasses, present one to you, and then close the other and present the next frame to you. And that's how they typically do the active glasses. With the polarized glasses, it's different because they use the color bands. So they would just present the frames simultaneously, but because they're on different color frequency, you don't get to see one. You only get to, except if it's presented on that frequency. So a lot of physics, sort of lighting involved in there. I'm not going to pretend to know the basics, but that's the way it works, really. I want some different arguments about which one works and which one is likely to make one sick if they use it too long or something like that. But those are still debated, which requires a lot of research. And actually, I do have the cave here. So this is typically, you walk into it, and you've got the left eye, right side, left side, right side, left side, front, and the floor. And those are fed by projectors, so that those projectors are from the outside, except the floor, which is actually from the top. And then that gives you a view that you can actually walk in. This is me using one of the simulations. And this is another view in Virginia Tech, which is the cave I actually supported as well. And this is, I've never seen this. This is the Duke one, which is a 6-sided cave. You know, they close the door behind you. You finish watching the simulation. And you know, I can imagine walking out of there. You might feel a little dizzy, but because everywhere around you is surrounded by simulation. But it's pretty cool to get into that. But then you have different form factors as well, which this is a dome that was. Some universities do this because, again, it gives them a lot of prestige. It shows the kind of research they're doing, but they are quite expensive to put this together. I mean, this would require a lot of projection. And softwares have to be specially built, and images have to be warped to be able to present this projection quite well with various different software. We've invested with a lot of interest in virtual reality headsets. We've invested a lot in HoloLens, Oculus Rift, Samsung Gear, and HTC Vive. All of my students actually work on each different one as well. So I kind of urge you, because we normally have a demonstration Friday. Currently in the fall is Friday at 12. So if you're able to come to the lab, you're more than welcome, and we'll be able to show you a demo of various things that we're doing there. And we also have a touch table as well that we're also using. And currently we're building a sort of structure which allows us to project onto the touch table, and you have a collaborative workspace that you could actually manipulate your data within that area. We've also got workstations and a cluster that we use, and we actually try and support people on. So ParaView runs on multiple clusters. The word I'm looking for there is remote or high performance visualization. The whole idea is that you have several nodes. In this case, we have up to 598 NVIDIA GPU accelerators that you could also use for visualization as well. The word big data comes into play. When you have a lot of data and you need to run it, if you run it on one PC, it can take days, even weeks, very easily. And that's how they used to do things back before supercomputing came into play. With supercomputing, you can have various you can build your software to be parallel and then be able to do various computation at the same time and then visualize it as a whole with the parallel software that is being run. Now, ParaView, for example, is capable of doing that. I'm not sure whether Gephi probably is. I haven't seen a video that, but you can run Gephi on the cluster. And then we've got a visualization cluster as well that we'll be moving to a data center. It was currently in the library initially, but the whole idea is that people can log in and actually use this visualization cluster to visualize their work. So just to give you a little bit about applications, play this video if it works.
So both ways. So firstly, I'll ask you first I'll guess where you're looking.
So this is work that I did at University College London. It's a typical application, it's Telepresence. I don't know if you can see.
Probably looking towards the whiteboard.
This head display that is there, which is something we had to use some kind of projection to be able to project a user's head. And then I was able to do some work on that to show that you can actually decipher where people are looking using that kind of display. Possible uses. Current robots don't look very human. Could you use that as something that you could mount on a robot and then be able to actually communicate with it? So that's what possible. So that's my colleague in the room. And that's me in the cave, and then we're trying to do a test to make sure that we have everything matched very well before we actually run experiments. Another application is time engagement. The biggest application of all is time engagement. In my view, this is the biggest application. We ran a visualization research experience for undergraduates in 2014 and 2015. I don't know if Gabriel Hankins is in this. Okay, yeah. So Gabriel Hankins was actually one of the faculties who had a student that was working on one of his projects. So she was not able to take it with her. So we are actually going to have it here next summer. And I certainly encourage any faculty, or if graduate students have faculties who are interested, they don't have the time, but they can mentor the students on behalf of the graduate student, on behalf of the faculty. Send a small project proposal, which is really just like half a page of the kind of work you want them to do. They are undergraduate students. They are going to come from every field. We'll probably get somebody from sort of the digital humanities for any project that comes out of this field. But the beauty of it is that we have a structure within our group that allows us to get actual people with the actual technical expertise, including me, to support the students. And then you come in as a mentor. This has been out a while, and there's only about 3 or 4 spots left. So do let me know if you're interested in mentoring a student next year. This is a typical application, sports marketing, which I talked about, and that's the video that came out of it. Probably heard this song so much. And interestingly, before I came here, I was not interested in football. Yeah, and I always tell this story, it's just because we call soccer football in the UK. And then we go here, football. It's not football, you don't use your foot. But eventually, with the performance of Clemson so far, I've actually gotten quite interested in it, which is pretty impressive, because I was watching the last game on Saturday as well on Teams. So we did some work on basketball. I think I talked about that earlier. Let me see if this works. never works. I'll try and get this up. After the presentation, I'll try and get this up. So this is a new feature by Microsoft where you can play YouTube videos automatically. It just never works in practice. Right, so that's another basketball court simulation. I don't know if you tried it last time where you go down. Okay, you could actually grab the ball and actually pretend like you're actually within the basketball court, which is quite impressive. So if I don't get to show you the video, you can actually come to the demonstration and I'll be able to show you. This is GIS. Now I'm showing you various applications so that you can see the various ways that we use visualization. It's a light detection and ranging data, remote sensing technology to capture point data from an aerial scan, and it allows end users to generate 3D models of an area based on topographical information recorded from LiDAR scan. So we did work with something called the VROE toolkit, which allowed us to be able to integrate it in the Oculus Rift and actually show it to people. This is the 3D character modeling. There are various applications we could use with this. And some of them include things like disability, stroke issues, especially applications where it's to do with, what's the word I'm using for, sort of disorder, where somebody cannot do something perhaps because they do not believe as much in themselves or something, I'm not using the right words here. If they're able to see themselves do things that they would not otherwise be able to do, is there a possibility that this would increase their likelihood of being able to do it? So that's part of one of the areas that we're doing this research for. Apart from the fact that we also want to get new, nicer looking characters into game engines. This doesn't work as well. You saw this one. Right. I'll get that up on YouTube once I finish. Then there is the scientific visualization by one of my interns, Michelle Rainsford, where we had this on the table. And then we could actually use it to teach students how to understand the basics of chemistry simulations, basically. And one of the work we're doing right now, especially with the visualization cluster I showed you earlier, is what you call shared visualization, where instead of having to buy the latest GPU computers to do your work, you are able to do it on a remote system and actually be able to see it on video in real time. So that has various applications as well that it would be useful for. So if I just very quickly get the videos up, and I'm happy to take questions in the meantime.
Yeah, well, it's going to. Do we have any questions, Joel?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, a couple months ago, I had the opportunity to use the HTC Vive,
Right.
and it was mind-blowing. But I think the thing that really struck me was not necessarily being inside the virtual environment.
Mm-hmm.
I expected that, and I expected that with being present, but I think that really the thing that struck me was the way that I was able to manipulate things inside the environment. So I would have a controller or something in my hand, and if I had moved my hand or moved my eyes, it would sort of follow me around. And I was wondering if you're sort of, I guess the next question is how would they do that? Is that the sort of the eye tracking that you were talking about, or is it mini cameras or something?
It's tracking technologies, right? And in a way, it is sort of like the eye tracking. So in the case of the eye tracking, you have a camera with an infrared sensor. Now that infrared, it's not even a sensor, infrared light. It's shining small. Doesn't affect you that much, but it shines infrared lights to the height, and then it uses the camera to capture an image. So that makes the pupil clear, and it also gives a glint. Now, based on some arithmetical calculations, they are able to then calculate possibly where you're looking at in relation to an external stimulus. Now, it's the same thing that they use for the tracking. So in the case of the HTC bag,
It's the HTC bag.
you've got the controller that you hold in your hand,
Yeah.
which is probably using, I'm not quite sure on this one, I have to double check, probably magnetic, some kind of magnetic tracking or something like that. No, it's using light, it's using infrared because you've got sensors on the sides.
Oh, they're all up in the corners.
Up in the corners, and it's those sensors that are doing the tracking. And the reason HTC Buy works very well is because they actually invested in home scale tracking and in their products. And that means that if you have it on there, as long as nobody is blocking the view of that track, it's able to see where the controller is within that. And it's the same thing they use for the head tracking as well, so that when you look around, it's able to track the orientation of your head position and actually use it.
So is the room able to scale as well using mathematical calculations, or do the cameras need to be in a very specific position?
The cameras, I can't remember why. It's going to have limits, given that I think it's about $800 or something like that. So I assume it's going to have limits. I've heard that it could take possibly a room as big as this, for example.
Amazing.
In some cases, what they just do is they buy more.
Yeah.
They
buy more cameras.
More
and put around
cameras,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
So the bigger the room, you just put lots of cameras. We used to, for the cave and like big theaters, we use the OptiTrack. So we use the OptiTrack motion capture, and I believe OptiTrack was one of those used for Avatar as well. So where they have little trackers on here that captures all the joints and everything, and they can get exact detail. Actually, DPA, Digital Production has one of those trackers.
Thank you.
So, and we've talked about this a little bit. So you talked about some of the applications for STEM. What are some of the things that you've seen that people have been doing in the humanities?
Right. So, like the work that I just mentioned from various ones, where I think it was to do with authors of literary work or something like that. And then what he did was, please don't quote me on this because I joined just as soon as we were finished. But what he did was he did something where he was trying to look at how much of the work was being done in a particular field, and the student was looking at how to put it in sort of a graphical structure similar to the one that we were doing. And the students, I recall the student enjoying this kind of work. The reason I introduced Gephi, it's actually a video that I just fished out from YouTube very early this morning, was because it's one of the ways that I felt like you would use it. I know we talked about projects where I was talking about Gephi, and you talked to Ruben about Tableau as well. And those can scale. Some of them can scale to big data. Tableau not as much, but I've heard of Alteryx, that apparently Alteryx can handle gigabytes of data as well. So those are ways that people do it. It's all about presentation at the end of the day in digital humanities. How do you present this kind of work? When you're trying to tell people something interesting, something a little more artistic than it is more scientific, how do you present that to people? How do you show it to people? So if this guy was talking about friends network, we probably won't get what he's talking about, but then he clicked on one of it and then it says, hey, here is this person that I knew. This is this network of people that I knew, and they sort of know each other as well. And this person who I can sort of remember or something like that. It's a visual way of actually telling the story. Those are the best. Those are the ways that it's applicable to digital humanities. If I can get this up. this is another way that I guess applies to psychology. I don't know so much whether I would say it could be sort of digital humanities as well, but here they're trying to investigate how people feel about a scenario.
What saw you looking at? What saw you? I saw you staring.
No, I wasn't staring.
So you get off your chest. You sure about that?
There's nothing wrong there, there's no trouble here. I'm just trying to enjoy a quiet pint. Just
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Drawing a quiet point.
go back to your table, enjoy a quiet pint.
You told me to go back to my table.
I'm not telling you what to do.
Apologies for the swear.
Just leave it out.
Leave it out.
There's no need for any hassle, okay?
Not causing any hassle. I'm coming in for a quiet drink and you are staring at me.
I wasn't staring at you, I wasn't even looking in that direction.
So is that wrong?
I'm just saying there's no trouble there, just...
What's that?
What?
What the f*** is that?
What?
Is it a f***ing Arsenal shirt?
Yes.
You actually go out with a
Yes.
take it off.
What?
I hate this. Arsenal, take it off.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'll
Take
take
the f***ing shirt off. It offends me. It offends me.
I'm not taking the shirt off.
You actually walk out the house with a f***ing Arsenal top.
It's ridiculous.
Sick. You actually support Arsenal.
Yes, I'm an Arsenal
What was the
fan.
last week they won? That's the fucking last week they won.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm not
nothing.
going to
Nothing. No f***ing cups. The shit.
Just leave it out. Just leave it alone. I don't want any
They
hassle.
didn't beat that.
You're leaving it like, you come in with your Arsenal top, giving me grief, staring at me.
I didn't realise it was illegal. Just let me sit down and have my pint.
F***ing tell me what to do. I'm not your mate. I don't know you.
I'm sorry.
Your bloody Arsenal
I'm
shirt.
sorry.
Don't be sorry because you bought a shit team.
I'm sorry. What can I do? I'm sorry. I'll finish my pint and then I'll go. Okay?
Why don't you f*** off now? Why don't you leave now? Or take your pint and f*** off, like. Because you offend me. That shirt offends me. I told you, take it off. You can stay. I'm not going to take it off and have a drink.
I'm not going to
Take the shirt off.
Leave it, though. What's going on here?
Tell me.
What have I done?
Tell me. Leave it out.
I recall actually bringing in some very young students, and then I showed them this. And then just in the middle of it, we were like, without the beat, of course. We were like, what are we doing? How do to do this? But it was too late, of course, by then. So we said to them that this is exactly what was not happening. But we're trying to show you exactly what you can do with virtual reality. You could not get ethics approval for this kind of experiment, but they still need studying. This is a bystander experiment. You've probably all heard of the bystander effect, which is where people do not necessarily do something when faced with this kind of effect, this kind of situation, scenarios. So they conducted a study. They wanted to see how people feel about it, and they wanted to also see whether or not they would react as well. So they were beating the video where the guy kept looking, trying to look at the user. So based on the tracker that we were wearing, I was actually one of the participants. We wanted to see whether or not I was maybe leaning forward or coming in. Some people actually try to, when they're immersed within that environment, they do sometimes forget that it's still just a virtual scenario. And they actually try to kind of stop it. Is it possible that if I do something, it's going to stop the simulation? So they actually do try to do that. So I mean, this to me is another way to use to tell a story, especially from maybe historical perspectives as well, history. People put these kind of things in virtual environment and then showcase it to people if they want to tell a story about what happened previously in history and how it could have happened. So kind of watching a video of some things like slavery or something like that would be quite interesting. But do you want to depict that in a real scenario? Not necessarily. I hope it's been useful.
Other questions?
I have one more.
Yeah.
So you're over at the lab, you're dealing with VR and AR, and I'm just wondering, like, with the popularity of those of the devices, and as we're heading into the future with something like HoloLens, which is doing mostly AR, or something like the Vive, which we were speaking about earlier, which is doing VR. If you see sort of benefits and drawbacks, or I guess affordances to each particular system, in, as far as data visualization is concerned.
As far as data visualization, I think AR is the next step. Microsoft HoloLens is pretty good. It's actually quite good. The view is very limited, but it shows you what can happen, and being aware of your surroundings as well. Google is investing a lot in Magic Leap, which uses another set of technologies, which is not, because the HoloLens one is based on holograms, and then uses some sort of tracking to present the holographic information to you as you move around. So it's not actually true 3D in that sense, but it's a technology that presents 3D information to you, which is quite neat. Which means that I could, once it's recognized this room, I could place data on there, I could place some science data on there, I could place myself doing a backflip on here, and I could do all sorts of things, and then use it for training. So one of the things that I'm trying to do right now is do a training session for scientific visualization and get the HoloLens in there, and have people looking at data as part of the training session as well. So it's actually quite neat, and I would still be doing my presentation as we go on. So that's where I think it would go. Is AR more interesting for gaming? Probably not. Virtual reality is more interesting for gaming. It increases the chance of simulator sickness, but they are working on that in the sense that one of the things that causes simulator sickness is the resolution. It's not very high resolution in some cases, and it's getting better. So this is why there's going to be more research. Do I think that we could have it fail as much as it did in the 1990s? Probably not, because like I've just shown you, this is a very small subset of a wide range of applications that you could use it for. The fact that they've now introduced 360 video, which is again not VR, but who cares, as long as it's just another application that you could use it for, it's very interesting. So you can take a high definition 360 video along sometime in the future. Possibly, since our mobile phone is capable of doing so much, possibly you could have a headset that is capable of doing GPU intensive tasks as well. And then you're just able to look around, and you can carry it around with you as well. So I do see that in the next 5 to 10 years, it's really going to become mainstream, just as the smartphone has. The problem, so when they introduced 3D TV, they just did not have a plan for content at all. They really didn't have a plan for it. And then finally, some Hollywood, some of this movie industry started investing in 3D cameras and putting that together. And then later on, they just kind of fizzled out. But this is different because it's not about just Hollywood or the film industry. This is several different applications that cuts across different ones. Even applications that are not ideal, which I wouldn't mention here. Right. So I think it's here to stay, and VR, then AR is the next step. So magically, when they do eventually get it out, it will be very interesting.
Cool. Any last questions before we close? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.